We'll give it just a couple more seconds for people to fill in. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday. Today, we have a couple of special guests with us, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Rodney McRae. He is the Executive Director for the Nassau County Human Rights Commission, which is an organization members of the public can turn to if they feel that they've been discriminated against. We also have Errol Williams, the Deputy Bureau Chief at the Municipal Transactions Bureau in the Office of the Nassau County Attorney, where he handles all of the eminent domain proceedings for the county, and he also serves as Special Housing Counsel for Nassau County. Also joining us are Kateros and Maria Rivera, human rights investigators with Rodney's office. Our guests are here today with us to provide us information on Nassau County's fair housing laws and the Nassau Commission on Human Rights housing complaint process. We thank you all very much for being with us here today.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we've decided, Rodney, that I will go first.
Yes.
All right. Good morning to all and happy inauguration day to all. We're here to talk about housing discrimination. It's been in the news lately. Of course, as we all know, that housing discrimination is against the law. It's prohibited by federal, state, and local laws. And I'll talk to you a little bit about Nassau County's version of fair housing or open housing as it's referred to in this administrative code of Nassau County. So Nassau County's administrative code identifies characteristics that are protected. And that's on my second slide. You'll see that race, creed, color, gender, disability, age, religion, source of income, sexual orientation, ethnicity, familial status, marital status, and national origin are all protected characteristics, meaning that discrimination based on those characteristics is unlawful. Second slide, which talks about who must follow the law. Just getting away from the slide for a minute, basically owners, tenants, subtenants, real estate brokers, real estate agents are all mandated to follow this code and not discriminate. The statute speaks to the owner, lessee, sublessee, assignee, managing agent, real estate broker, anyone that works for the real estate broker. But the statute or the code also prohibits discrimination on the lending side. So the banker, the person, the credit union, the industrial bank, the Savings and Loan Association are all prohibited from acting based upon those characteristics previously mentioned. To go back a bit, there is a federal standard, which I would call the floor. The county's administrative code adds certain characteristics to this floor. So whereas the federal code may not mention, say, source of income discrimination is unlawful in Nassau County, also unlawful on the New York State statute. So as back to who must follow the law, basically all you guys hopefully that are on the call are listening, are real estate brokers, agents, owners, lessees, sublessees, all are mandated to follow the law. My next slide, then we can talk about what is prohibited. So refusal to sell, rent, lease any housing accommodation, refusal to negotiate for the sale, rental, or lease of any housing accommodation, to represent that housing accommodation is not available for sale, rental, or lease, when in fact it is so available, to discriminate against or harass someone in the terms, conditions, or privileges of the sale, rental, lease, or occupancy of any such housing accommodation, or to print or cause to be printed or circulated, statements, advertisement, publications, or to use any form of application, rent for the purchase, rental, or lease of such housing. And I won't read it all, but because I'm quite sure that my audience is quite familiar with what is prohibited and I'm sure that you all act accordingly. So there are characteristics that are protected and there are actions that are prohibited. The next slide, the code also speaks to reasonable accommodation, and this particularly is for people with disabilities. So in the sale, rental, lease, so it is unlawful to refuse to make a reasonable modification of existing premises or to refuse to make reasonable accommodation in rules, policies, practices, or services when such accommodations may be necessary to afford a person with disability equal opportunity to use and enjoy. New York State specifically added recently, last year, specifically prohibited discrimination against people with disabilities who need the use of a service animal. Nassau Code, I think, is the code is expansive enough to have always included that prohibition. So disability being a protected characteristic, accommodations must be made for people with disabilities. The next slide, which discusses what housing is covered. So it applies to pretty much any housing with certain exceptions. Rental units in two-family homes or homes that are owner occupied, rentals in rooming houses occupied by the owner, and with respect to age discrimination, housing that is for people 65 or over, or 55, well, with respect to familial status, housing accommodations that fall under a state or federal program designed to assist the elderly. 65 or over, 62 years of age or older, or for people 55 years of age or older. So with that exception, with those exceptions, everything else is covered. And the next slide is that my last slide. So once again, the code, the codes, federal, state, and local, prohibits certain actions, and they protect certain classes of people with certain characteristics. And when a violation is indicated or found, then a complaint is made. In Nassau County, that complaint will be made to the Human Rights Commission. And now we'll turn it over to Mr. McRae, and he will tell you and will describe the process of how a complaint is treated in Nassau County.
Thank you, Errol. Very nice. Appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon, and again, happy Inauguration Day to everyone. I'm thrilled to be here to represent the Nassau County Commission on Human Rights in Nassau County, and especially to detail our housing complaint process. First, is to give you a little background on Human Rights Commission. We have 3 divisions: job development, pretrial, and compliance and investigations, which is what we're going to concentrate on today. As far as filing a complaint with the Nassau County Commission on Human Rights, anyone can file a complaint free of charge, which is a really something I like to really stress to folks, because a lot of people think that it costs money to do these things, and you can file with the Nassau County Commission on Human Rights free of charge. We only accept complaints if the property is in Nassau County. If it's outside of Nassau County, we will refer you to the state. I do have my 2 investigators with me today. They're going to kind of help out with the slides and talk a little bit, Maria Rivera and Kateros. So Maria.
Well, I think you're on mute.
Or intake, Maria.
Sorry.
That's
Good
okay.
morning, everyone. As Mr. McRae explained, I am Maria Rivera. I'm an investigator at the Human Rights Commission. My proper title is Human Relations Rep 1, bilingual. Therefore, I am fluent in Spanish, and I can help any complainant who comes in with housing complaints who only speak Spanish or who their main language is Spanish. I'll proceed to the PowerPoint presentation, the intake process. When receiving a case, it is entered into our system. The case is then assigned a number and an investigator. Within 2 weeks, we reach out to the complainant. We ask questions to gather information in order to draft a complaint. Once a complaint is drafted, it is submitted to the executive director for corrections and/or dialogue. Also, I would like to mention, and I know Mr. Earl mentioned it earlier, but some of the protected classes or bases that are covered under the housing discrimination law are race, creed, color, national origin, sexual orientation, sex, age, disability, marital status, source of income, and familial status. Also, what else? Once the case is received and entered, we will, like I said, look over the case and we will assign it a case number. And the case number basically consists of the date it came in, as well as one of the basis codes that is assigned to either myself or my coworker. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Kateros. I also work for the Human Rights Commission as an investigator. And this slide is about filing, when a complaint is filed. If a complaint is accepted, a formal complaint is drafted and mailed to the complainant within 15 to 20 days. The complainant then gets it signed and notarized and returns it. They must return it to the commission signed and notarized. Once a case is returned to the commission, it is date stamped and checked for proper signatures and notaries. And then within 5 to 10 days, we send generated letters to all parties. Next slide. So to the complainant, we send a mail out letter confirming the formal complaint has been filed. And the complainant is also sent a copy of the formal complaint. And
Okay,
then
next we have the respondent and what is sent to them. The respondent being the person who the complainant is filing a claim against. The respondent is sent a cover letter informing them that a fair housing complaint has been filed against them. In this packet, we'll send them the request for information form, respondent contact sheet, and a copy of the complaint. We request a response within 15 days, and this goes out certified mail. I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, the respondent's attorney will generally send us a letter requesting an extension of time to submit a response, and we usually give them up to 30 days. If a response is not received within 30 days, all allegations are deemed admitted. Now, if it goes any further, if the respondent fails to respond to the complainant, by day 45, we will mail out a failure to respond letter. This will go out regular mail and certified mail. Copies of the complaint go out along with the original packet that was sent by previously.
the investigation process. Response is received on or about 30 to 45 days after the formal complaint has been filed. Once the commission receives the response, we mail it to the complainant requesting a rebuttal. And the complainant is given 15 days to submit if they choose to do so. And then we conduct telephone calls and schedule two-party fact-finding conferences. During the conference, we gather documents, information, and interview witnesses. After the conference, we give all parties 2 weeks to submit closing arguments if they choose to do so. And while we're waiting for the closing arguments, we type up a summary of the two-party conference. After receiving the closing arguments, we type up a findings report, and it is submitted along with the summary to the supervisor. And
Sorry, conciliation. With housing cases, we can conciliate. Respondent's attorney is asked to draft a stipulation of settlement. Complainant has also signed a withdrawal letter. The commission will keep copies of all documents in file, and the case will be closed. No probable cause determination. If after a complete and thorough investigation, the commission finds no probable cause, it means that no clear evidence was submitted to determine that the complainant was discriminated against or a housing discrimination occurred. The case will then be, all determinations are mailed to the parties with an affidavit of service. If complainant does not agree with the determination, they can appeal the case by sending an appeal letter addressed to the commissioners. This letter should be sent to the commission's office.
or sometimes the case is determined to be a probable cause. So the probable cause determination, if after a complete and thorough investigation, the commission finds probable cause, the case is submitted to the commissioners for review. The case then goes to the county attorney's office to conduct a hearing by an acting law judge. All determinations are mailed to the parties with an affidavit of service.
So I believe that is our last slide. But I'm sure I do see there are a couple of questions on the chat. So if there are any questions, we can, I guess you can present them to us and we'll do our best to answer.
I'm sure. This is Marianne. We have a question. What if a lawyer was going against fair housing during a transaction to a buyer? Would you put a complaint to the Nassau County Commission on Human Rights? I guess in that case against the lawyer?
I mean, like if an agent suspected a lawyer of discriminating, would he put a case in against them?
Yes. That's how I'm taking the question.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that would be yes. I think when in doubt, a case should be, a complaint should be made to Nassau County, to HRC. Absolutely. And
A
I think
complaint against a lawyer.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because I think if the agent sits there and allows it, that agent may run a risk of having a complaint against him or her.
Yeah, and any complaint we get, if it's not under our purview or not under jurisdiction, we send it to where it needs to be. So it's best to get the ball rolling and send it to us. And then if we can't deal with it, we'll definitely make sure it gets to where it needs to go.
Okay. Can you explain the review process? I know you did, but when a complaint comes in, how is it viewed and what is looked at to determine, merit of violation? Who reviews the complaints and the process from there?
Well, the investigators and myself review at first, and we follow the law. That is basically how it goes. If the law is very specific, and what is a violation, and we look at what has happened. Our investigators investigate. I will allow them to talk for themselves, but they do this on a daily basis. So Maria or Kate, you want to just kind of jump in there?
Yes, Rodney. Basically, once we receive the case is assigned to us. On the complaint itself, on page number 3 of the actual complaint form, the complainant always submits like a brief description of what occurred. Based on that description, we will look at it and we will call the complainant and ask further questions. And based on the information they provide to us, both on the complaint form and our telephone conversation with them, that's how we take the complaint and move forward with drafting the complaint and submitting it to them for notaries and signatures. And eventually it makes its way to the respondent and their attorneys.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. We have a question. Based on the rules, can a seller or landlord with under the minimum number of units openly discriminate?
Do they live in the house? Are the landlords on, is it owner occupied?
Well, I guess we would have to, explain the difference. If it's owner occupied and if it's not, they don't specify in the question. So if you could address both aspects.
It seems to me that the question is saying that, so say a single family home and the owner's maybe renting out a room or trying to sell and just discriminating. While that's a bad thing, I don't think that the rules, the code covers that. But what it would cover is if the agent is assisting that owner in that owner's discriminatory actions, then the agent then is liable and is exposed.
Yes. Here's an interesting question, and I think I read something in something that you both had sent me. Can we talk a little bit about COVID? Because of COVID, seller says no children allowed in a house. Is that age discrimination? How does COVID factor into all of this?
Well, I think COVID simply says you cannot discriminate against anyone if you suspect they have COVID or they have COVID and you try to not rent to them or not sell to them because of that fact. That's what the COVID is about. You cannot discriminate because of children. But I'll let the attorney.
I think COVID, based on statistics, seems to affect people of color more than the rest of the population. So if someone is looking at someone and saying, this started in Asia, that person is Asian, I'm not going to rent to them. So I think that's where it comes in, where they're looking at one of these protected characteristics and using and attaching COVID to it and saying, I'm going to act discriminatory, discriminatory factor towards this person.
Yes, makes sense. Let's see. Can you let us know numbers of actual complaints you receive and what protected characteristics tend to be, what protected characteristics tend to be of issue?
Well, our end of year report for 2020, the most prominent basis that we have was race. That is the top one. Disability coming right under that. So race, disability, and source of income. Those are the three.
Race, disability, and source of income. Okay. Let's see. Are you seeing a rise of complaints regarding disability? I guess that kind of answers that. The NFHA shows national data that confirms a very large percentage. So saying that it comes in second, right under race, I guess that kind of answers if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, no, you're correct. We have seen a rise in disability claims in Nassau County, and we're doing our best to keep up. But yeah, unfortunately, that is the truth.
I think that most people, good or bad, instinctively know that discrimination based on race is not good, but they may not necessarily think that discrimination based on disability is they may think that it's okay. So I think that's probably why you see a lot of it. And of course, it is not okay, and the county takes it seriously, and Human Rights Commission will do what he has to do to cure and prevent that.
Absolutely.
Well, New York State is changing its continuing education requirements. So effective July 1st of 2021, all licensees must take continuing education. The grandfather clause will no longer exist. So in an effort to raise the bar, all licensees, be it salespersons, associate broker, or broker, must take 22.5 hours of continuing education every 2 years to include 3 hours of fair housing. So that will certainly help to get the word out across the board to all licensees. Let's see, some landlords of private homes still won't allow animals. What can be done?
Well, the allowance or disallowance of animals, I think on its face is not necessarily discriminatory. It's just, if someone is disabled and because of that disability, they need a service animal, then the landlord has to do, reasonably accommodate that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a flat out ban on animals by itself. Like I say, it's not bad, but if I show up and I need a guide dog because I'm blind and the landlord won't accommodate me, then that's discriminatory.
Yes. Thank you. And we're being asked, does your group do active testing?
No,
No.
not as of yet.
Not as of yet. Okay. Let's see. And then I guess to piggyback off of that question about the animals, is animal documentation required?
I assume that someone is talking about an emotional support animal, someone with something along those lines.
Exactly.
Right. Yes, I would think that the person would have to establish that there is in fact a disability, and it probably is more than just the person saying I'm disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you would have to establish that there is in fact a disability.
Yes. It seems that that's it. We're getting some thank yous here, for being here with us and just reiterating information that we should know. We recorded this for anyone who may have missed it, and it'll be on our website. I know it took a while to gather all the parties, but it was worth waiting for. And we thank all.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we thank all of you for being here with us. And if we could call upon you in a future time to have you back, we would really like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Look forward to doing it again.
Yes. Thank you, Kate, Maria,
Okay,
Errol,
thank you.
and Rodney.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Have a
And
good
the
day.
and the
Well,
listeners.
stay.
All right, Marion, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.